What's the dumbest thing you've gotten in trouble for in school? For correcting a teacher how my last name was pronounced. Array wrong. As someone named Aaron, this haunts me. My high school didn't allow ripped jeans at all. I was in my dance class, we weren't dancing that day, when I was bending down to sit on the floor and my jeans ripped at my knee. I got sent to the administrator's office for it. Had to stop you before your sexy knee became too big of a distraction for the other students. I reported someone for attacking me with a hockey stick in the gym. I got in trouble for provoking him by telling him to stop stalking me. Zero tolerance school. Student 1 stabs student 2. Student 2 runs and tells an adult like they were taught to do. School suspends both for fighting. It's so sad that the victims get punished in schools nowadays. Was once told if you say another word you will be sent to the principal's office. Do you understand? I replied yes, and was immediately sent to the principal's office. Insisting on my own name. My name is more commonly a nickname. Think Kate instead of Catherine. But it is my legal name. Second grade teacher had a strict no nicknames policy. She tried calling me Catherine for the first 2 days. And I kept insisting. Loudly. That I was Kate. Got sent out into the hall. Then sent to the principal. Who confirmed for the teacher that my name on my records actually was Kate. She then called in my parents to basically lecture them for giving the wrong name for the records. But they brought my original birth certificate. Which shut her up. 2 weeks later I was back in the principal's office for teaching myself cursive off the poster she put up on the wall. Jokes on her. The principal was the trombone player in my dad's jazz band. He started letting me come by to visit his office at lunch whenever I wanted. Literally nothing. I was once given detention for no reason, and when I asked what I did wrong no one had an answer. I find myself wanting to ask what happened. But nothing did. In 7th grade. I yelled the word shrimp really loud right as the entire cafeteria went quiet. Apparently the teachers thought I had been stabbed. Good times. I was reading a book in the back of the room. After finishing an exam. And my homework. And turning it all into the teacher. He told me that school is not a place for reading books. Got a detention. I got a detention for being late to class, because I was finishing a final in another class. Had a note and everything. The teacher hated me. Was out to get me all year. She finally had me. The class I was taking a final in had a sub that day. Who no one could track down. Conveniently. The teacher also said I didn't have a note. Conveniently. So the principal said he had to go with her and give me an in-school suspension for a day. Mind you, it was finals week. On my last week of my senior year of high school. So it was all half days. So on that day I show up. The detention teacher shows up. It's my track coach. What are you doing here? I explain the story. The principal shows up shortly after to check and make sure everyone is here. My track coach walks over to me after he leaves. Hands me a piece of paper and says bring this to another teacher in this room. On the note it says sentence served. Walked out and went to a class that was having a party. In my private middle school we all had cubbies in our homeroom to keep books and such. I never saw the need and kept everything in my backpack all the time instead. Eventually I started renting out my cubby to another student in exchange for one lunch token per week. They would keep their overflowing personal belongings in there and I would get double lunch once per week. My homeroom teacher eventually shut it down and gave me a demerit for misuse of cubby. I once got in trouble for correcting the teacher. She read a fact from our book. But my encyclopedia said she was wrong. I brought it in and showed it to her and she gave me detention. I got sent to the principal once for not saying good morning back to a teacher. Well, someone thinks highly of themselves. Teachers. Especially bad ones. And their power trips. Every time. In the 9th grade. I was asked by my French teacher to shut the window because it was too cold. I shut it. But it didn't want to fully latch. So after a couple of attempts I shoved it down harder and it clicked. But made a loud enough noise that it disturbed the class. I got detention. Getting punched in the arm and chest by a kid a year younger than me. Then walking briskly to the admin's office, because the teacher wasn't around, and getting detention for getting out of line. It escalated from there. To me calling some teachers idiots for giving me detention. And resulted in a 500-word essay on respect and attention. Remember kids. If you are dealing with a bully, don't start a fight. Tell an adult. I'm running a 99% average in this one college class. Some dude with a 50% attendance record copies my work. And I get dragged in for plagiarism. Suck my gonads. Lowlife and professor. I got a book confiscated in 4th grade because I was too young for it. My parents had to call the school to get the teacher to give it back. And she advised that she wouldn't have had to confiscate the book if I'd just read something appropriate for my age level. My dad responded by sending me to school with Dracula. She didn't take that one. Probably to avoid another phone call. Edit. The book was a kid's version of Midsummer Night's Dream. In 7th grade. I got detention for not speaking because a teacher thought we were making fun of him with our eyes. Insecure people shouldn't teach middle schoolers. One person at my lunch table wouldn't stop talking when they were supposed to be quiet at the end of lunch, and then the whole table including me got in trouble because of him. Collective punishment is literally a breach of the Geneva Conventions. As in a full-on ducking war crime. If you can't treat prisoners of war that way, why can we do that to ducking school children? Edit. Yes, I know that Geneva Conventions don't apply to school children. I'm not an idiot. In 7th grade science we were doing an experiment using tuning forks. But we were only using the tuning forks as weights for something. That's public school for you. My teacher came over and gave my group our tuning fork. And I hid it on the side of my desk to make it make the sound. Note, this is in fact the purpose of a tuning fork. My teacher made me leave class and then yelled at me in the hallway about how it was disrespectful for me to hit the tuning fork because I could have broken it and the school didn't have money to buy new ones. TLDR, I got in trouble for using a tuning fork for its intended purpose. One of my friends. That's the key word for this. Dropped their phone leaving class, so I pick it up with the intention of giving it back to him. Before I can get his attention, our teacher stops me with the all sudden firm hand on the shoulder. He swears I was about to steal it and sends me down to the vice principal's office. I'm giving my side of the story and the VP wants to bring down my friend to talk to him, but he got taken home early. What happens to me? VP goes with his gut and gives me a week of detention. 2 ducking hours a day after school. When I was in grade 4, this girl Nicole kept hitting me with her bandana during class. So I waited till she swung it at me again and grabbed it. Of course that's when the teacher looked over and sees me stealing her bandana. I got sent out of class, and when she came to talk to me in the hallway wouldn't let me tell her what actually happened. Still irks me 18 years later. Having a friend. I had to stay back after class and she told me she was intimidated by how good of a friendship I had with my best friend. Considering I was such a rich, her words, she couldn't imagine someone like me having a friend. What? A teacher was intimidated by a child having a friend? I'm so confused. Detention for walking from one classroom to another. Literally directly across the hall from each other. Without putting my jacket on. Wasn't even from either of the teachers. It was from a third teacher who happened to be standing in the hallway at the time. Why did you have to wear a jacket inside? And why would they force you to wear one if you didn't want to anyway? It was a fancy pants school. Uniform was a suit jacket, dress shirt tie, and dress pants. We could take our jackets off inside classrooms and the cafeteria, but were supposed to wear them in any other area of the school. In middle school, we had a bunch of bullies that pretty much harassed anyone who looked like an idiot, that is, me. They called themselves the Four Horsemen. Anyway, my parents and I had complained to the administration about the constant embarrassment. and pointed out that a lot of the harassment was happening during lunch, where our assigned seats put me with 2 of them on either side of me, and 3 of them directly across from me. Yes, they had problems with the name. Anyway, the brilliant administrative solution was to put a stool behind me and sit an administrator on it who was in his 70s. He sat with his back to us and often snoozed. One of the kids loved punching me as hard as he could with an extended knuckle or with one of those big hiking clips in between his fingers. He tagged me really hard in the arm once, and it hurt like hell. So, I picked up my trapper keeper and slammed it down over his head, bending it into a U shape. The guy turned bright red, but nothing else happened, because that was the exact moment the admin had decided to wake up and turn around. Got in trouble for having a condom in a little bag that also contained tampons etc, which was in my school bag. One of the girls, since I only opened the bag in the girls' bathroom, must have told a teacher for some reason. Teacher said I was a slut. I replied, well, if I'm a slut then isn't it a good thing to have a condom? Detention for talking back. I farted super loud in an all-male PE class. I was sitting Indian style with my sweet little 13-year-old as firmly pressed against a wooden gymnasium floor. This made for an abundantly loud blast of ass laughter, which resulted in the teacher being interrupted and me getting sent to the dean for a detention. Sat next to the class clown in the 8th grade. Dude was hilarious by 14-year-old standards, so I laughed a lot whenever he got in trouble. I got in trouble with him because I was encouraging bad behavior by laughing. I never got after school detention before 8th grade. That year I got multiple. Fun times. I remember another kid and I were laughing at the quote, "Lady, you're scaring us," for some reason before class. Then, someone wouldn't shut up multiple times, so she raised her voice and told the kid to shut up. The kid from before class looks at me and drops, "Lady, you're scaring us again," and we both lost our shit. Definitely got in trouble for that one. I was homeschooled and my older brother let me tag along to the park down the street from our house so he could play basketball with some of his friends. A teacher comes out and starts yelling at me for not being at some activity for the school next door. My brother and his friend step in saying how she's wrong and how I don't even go to the school. She tries to give 4 high schoolers and her elementary schooler detention for a middle school that none of us attended. In 6th grade someone called me a les and I called them one back. They went and told the teacher I'd called them a les and I got sent to the office. Had a note sent home to my parents, who weren't quite as angry due to the fact that both myself and the other person involved were both guys. We were just at the age where any insult concerning one's sexuality was considered a sick burn. I got detention for telling the art teacher two girls were throwing pencils at each other's faces. They were fine. I had to eat lunch in her room for a week. I remember a substitute teacher sent me to the principal for tattling onto kids that I had to work on a group project with in 6th grade. They weren't doing any of the work with me because I was the smart one of the group. Their words. It pissed me off that they were just trying to flatter me into doing the whole thing by myself, so I went and told the substitute since our actual teacher was out that day. I never complained to a teacher again about anything and learned that group projects suck. For saying the word crap during a math activity. 7th grade in the 90s. The teacher was in her late 30s and thought the word crap was cursing. So she sent me to the principal's office. I had never been sent to the principal's office and was scared shitless. Turned out the principal thought the teacher was ridiculous and sent me back to class with a gigantic eye roll. I'm a teacher now. The kids at my school shout duck and the N-gom in the hallways all the time. Times sure have changed. I never liked cupcakes, so I lied that I was allergic to them when it was another kid's birthday. They made me eat the damn thing. Wearing a top that showed my shoulders. Giving my friend the rest of my chips during lunch. What reason did they give? The teacher monitoring the lunch hall just shouted toward me. Called me over and had a go at me. Gave me detention. No real reason given. It wasn't because of allergies. The friend was already eating chips. The teacher was just having a bad day, I guess. When I was in 5th or 6th grade, I wrote an article for the school paper and the teacher accused me of plagiarism. Which was not true. My mom defended me. I didn't even know one could plagiarize. I was just a voracious reader and I guess ended up being a good writer. Now I write for a living. Screw you, teacher. There was a guy in my school who had created an anonymous hit list of people he planned on shooting when he came to school. My name was number 1 on that list, making the administrators think that I somehow was the one who came up with it. Almost got expelled and almost got murdered. Cool. My little sister was in 2nd grade. She jumped in a puddle of water during recess. I got detention for not handing in my homework the 2nd day at a new school. So my mom goes in and talks to the teacher. Well, she forgot to sign the detention slip. I got another detention for not notifying my parents and having them sign the first detention slip. Didn't matter that she talked to my mom about it. Edit, spelling.